Okay, I want to start with a question that might sound a little dramatic, but I promise it's not. Have you ever looked up and realized you're paying for peace, like it's a monthly bill? Not with money, although sometimes it does cost money, but with your sleep, your clarity, your ability to feel grounded in your own home, your ability to make a decision without second guessing yourself into the floor. Because that's what I've been thinking about lately. And it's the premise of this whole mini series I'm calling Peace Economics. The idea is simple. Love doesn't just have an emotional cost. It has a daily operational expense. And in today's video, this video is number one. I want to talk about something I'm calling the peace tax. And before I go any further, I want to do a quick bridge from the last conversation we've been having on this channel, because if you watch the Guard Your Proximity video, this is a follow-up. In that video, we talked about protecting who has access to you, your relationship, your mind, and your home. We talked about how proximity isn't just closeness, it's influence. This video is basically that idea, but with receipts. Because I learned the hard way that when wrong people have access, it doesn't just create drama, it creates a tax. And you pay it daily. So let's define this in a plain language before we go deeper. What I mean by peace. When I say peace, I don't mean everything feels easy all the time. I'm not talking about comfort. I'm not talking about never being challenged. I'm not talking about pretending everything is perfect. For me, peace is clarity. It's the clarity to know you're walking on the right path without constantly second guessing yourself. It's being able to breathe in your own life. It's also knowing you have people you can trust. People who aren't advising you out of harm, jealousy, malice, or control, but out of actual love. People who want you to grow, not shrink. People who care about you and your family, not because they want a front row seat to your life, but because they have integrity. And that's peace to me. So, what I mean by the peace tax, what do you think that means? Here's my definition. The peace tax is what you pay when you give unearned access to people who don't have the right position in your life. And the cost is anxiety, confusion, and instability. It's what you pay when someone has too much access to your personal life, your relationship, your parenting, your home, and they haven't earned that level of influence. And the reason I'm calling it a tax is because you don't always notice it at first. It doesn't show up as one big charge. It shows up as little withdrawals. Some of the ways it shows up is a little less sleep, a little more anxiety, a little more doubt, a little more explaining, a little more, wait, am I wrong? And a little more emotional heaviness in your chest. And eventually you wake up and realize your emotional bank account is on empty. Not because your life is falling apart, but because your peace has been getting siphoned off. I want to pause here for just a moment, because everything I'm talking about in this video is something I've had to sit with slowly, not emotionally, not all at once, and not under pressure. That's why I created Guard Your Proximity. The full paid version is a comprehensive reflection workbook. It's for women who already sense that something feels off, not necessarily in their relationship, but in the environment around them. The voices they're hearing, the conversations they're having, and the way certain interactions linger long after they're over. The paid guide goes deeper. It includes structured reflection prompts to help you notice who has repeated access to your thoughts during vulnerable moments, how certain conversations affect your emotional safety, and whether the environments you're in are stabilizing you or quietly introducing doubt. It's not about fixing your relationship. It's not about confronting anyone. It's not about being told what to do. It's about protecting your inner space while clarity is still forming. And if you're not ready for something that in depth, or you just want a starting point, there's also a free version linked below. The free guide is shorter and more introductory. It helps you understand what guarding proximity actually means. You can begin by noticing which voices linger in your thinking and reflect how certain spaces make you feel calmer or more unsettled. There's no advice in either version, just structured reflection. Both are linked in the description. Start where you are, move at your pace. If this conversation about influence and environment is resonated, I've linked my Guard Your Proximity reflection guides below. Let me tell you the version of my story that I can tell publicly, because there are parts I keep private on purpose. But the pattern matters. For me, this looked like going to people I shouldn't have trusted with information that wasn't theirs to hold. I allowed people into my relationship, not physically, but through conversation and access. I told them too much. I asked for too much input. I gave them too much influence over what was happening in my home. And what I got in return wasn't wisdom. It was judgment, manipulation, guilt, and pressure. It was people trying to force me to make choices. And then when I didn't make the choice they wanted, I was villainized for it. And that did something to me internally, because it wasn't just outside noise. It started turning into inside noise. I started questioning myself constantly. I started questioning my husband, his decisions, his motives, things I never would have questioned if I had stayed grounded. And I'm saying this carefully because I'm not here to disrespect my husband. I'm not here to air out my marriage. That's not what I do. But I am here to be honest about what happens when you let the wrong voices sit too close. It cost me my mental state. I was depressed. I felt lonely. I felt sad. I dealt with anxiety and second guessing to the point where I wasn't just thinking twice. Sometimes it felt like 3 times, 4 times, every decision. And what that really means is I wasn't operating from peace. I was operating from fear. Now, here's where I want to slow down and get really practical, because some of you are watching this thinking, okay, but it's not that bad. And I need you to hear me. That phrase is often a warning sign. It's not that bad is usually what we say when something is bad enough that we start minimizing it to survive it. And I saw it early, not in a way that was loud, but in a way that was revealing. I watched this same person do something harmful to someone else I cared about. And I remember saying, that wasn't right. And the response I got was basically, they asked God for forgiveness. We should forget about it. And that they made a mistake. And listen, yes, forgiveness matters. I'm a Christian. I believe in forgiveness. But there's a difference between forgiveness and access. And that's where a lot of women get trapped. Because forgiveness is holy, but so is discernment. Forgiveness is not the same as continued access. Here's what I want you to understand, and I want you to hear it in a way that strengthens your self-worth, not shames you. Forgiveness is for you. Access is earned. You can forgive someone genuinely from your heart without giving them the same position in your life that they used to have. You can forgive and still put them on probation. You can forgive and still say, you don't get to be that close to me again. But certain areas of your life, your marriage, your parenting, your finances, your mental health, your faith, those are not public parks. And if someone violates trust, disrespects your family, spreads your information, manipulates you, pressures you, or tries to destabilize you, that is not someone who deserves inner circle access. And if you've never been taught this, I need you to hear it clearly. It's not cruel to reduce access. It's wise. For me, there was a turning point that involved my children. So I'm going to keep it broad on purpose. But it was one of those moments where you realize, oh, this isn't just annoying. This is dangerous. I realized there were ulterior motives at play, things that would have devastated me and threatened the stability of my family. And when I saw that, something in me shifted. It became final. And this is where that phrase comes in that I say all the time. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. For me, it was a no. It was the final straw. And I didn't look back. Not out of revenge, not out of bitterness, out of protection. Because once you see someone trying to break what you're building, you don't debate with that. You don't negotiate with that. You adjust access. Now, let me give you an example that's more everyday and relatable, because I know the big turning point story is broad. A lot of this started with something simple: venting. I vented to someone I thought had my best interest at heart. I needed to talk through something, maybe a discussion my husband and I had, maybe a decision he made, and I just wanted clarity. But what I didn't realize was they weren't holding my words with care. They were collecting them, and then they were using them as ammunition. I found out they were repeating things I shared to other people, taking normal private home stuff and turning it into conversation. And it wasn't even that what I said was crazy. It was the principle, the disrespect. Because once someone is comfortable disrespecting your spouse to you, they're comfortable disrespecting you too. And if you've ever been in that spot, you know what it does to your nervous system. You start explaining more, you start defending more, you start overthinking. You start feeling like you have to justify normal decisions. And you don't realize it's happening until peace becomes expensive. Let's talk about something women do and that I did too. We normalized emotional inflation. Inflation is when everything costs more than it used to, but you slowly adjust and accept it. And emotionally, it looks like this. You get used to being anxious, you get used to being confused, you get used to defending yourself, and you get used to feeling guilty for having boundaries. You even get used to having your motives questioned. You get used to having to explain yourself like you're on trial. And you start thinking that's normal relationship life. But I want to challenge that, because just because something has become familiar doesn't mean it's healthy. Just because you can tolerate it doesn't mean you should. And this is where I want to bring one of my favorite metaphors, the grass is greener syndrome. A lot of us look at someone else's life or someone else's advice, and we think sometimes they must know better. Their grass is greener. So we run toward their perspective, their judgment, their opinions, their way of doing things because we think it's safer than trusting ourselves. But what I've learned is sometimes you get over there and realize the grass is green because it's fake. It's not real. And meanwhile, your grass, your real life, might have brown spots and bald spots. It might need work, but it's real. And instead of tending what's real, we start outsourcing our judgment to people who don't carry the weight of our consequences. And that's when the peace tax starts compounding. Now, here's the part where I'm going to be firm because I love women enough to tell the truth. We get here because we were never taught, but also we get here because we didn't pause and ask ourselves a few questions. Have they earned access? Do they have discretion? Do they respect my spouse? Is their advice producing fruit or chaos? Do they bring calm or drama? Are they aligned with my values? Do they build me up or undermine me? We didn't do the credit check. We handed them the card. And then we acted surprised when they started charging things. So yes, there are outside people who do wrong, but I always want to bring it back inward because that's where your power is. You can't control what people are like, but you can control who gets access. So here's what I want to end with today. This is your next step, not a dramatic step, not cut everyone off, a grounded step. I want you to do an access audit. Think of your life like a house with rooms. Not everyone gets a key to every room. Some people get the porch, some people get the living room, very few people get the master bedroom. So here are your categories. Write these down if you need to. Number 1, general relationships. These are your friendships, your social life, and community stuff. Number 2, intimate relationships. This is dating, engaged, married, your romantic life. Number 3 is parenting. Number 4, finances. Number 5, mental health. And number 6, your faith. Now, for each category, ask some of these questions or all these questions. Number 1, who has access to this part of my life right now? Did they earn it or did I just give it? Do they have a track record of discretion? Do they respect my spouse and my household? Does their advice produce fruit, which are things like clarity, growth, stability, or confusion? Are they aligned with my values, or do they pull me off center? After I talk to them, do I feel calmer or more chaotic? And here's the hardest question. What does it cost me to keep giving them access? Because if it costs you your sleep, your clarity, your peace, your stability, then that's not a neutral relationship. That's a tax. And then, this part matters, practice one boundary phrase. Not a speech, not an argument, just a sentence. I don't feel comfortable talking about this. I'd rather not discuss this. Can we change the subject? I need time to process this. That's it. And if someone can't respect that, that's information too. Let me end it like this. You are worth peace, not perfection, not a life with no conflict, but peace. The kind of clarity that lets you breathe. You should not have to pay a peace tax just to be loved, just to be understood, just to be supported. And if you've been paying for it a long time, I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to help you notice it, because noticing is where change starts. In the next video, we're going to talk about hidden fees in relationships, the costs that sneak into your life like subscriptions you forgot you signed up for. Confusion, over-explaining, waiting, self-doubt, and we're going to put it on paper because I want you to be able to see it. Until then, do the access audit, not to punish yourself, to honor yourself. And remember, just because you can give someone access doesn't mean you should. Thank you so much for watching and spending time with me today. If this video resonated with you in any way, I'd really appreciate you taking a moment to like and subscribe. Sharing this video helps it reach someone else who may need it, and that support truly makes a difference. If you'd like to keep coming back, make sure to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. I appreciate you being here, and I'm grateful you chose to spend part of your day with this content. Take care of yourself, move at your own pace, and I'll see you next time.